Alright, so I'm going to be embarking on my first tour today. It's going to be about 340 miles total. I'm using my velomobile, packed with camping gear. Not going to be using anything else but my two legs. No electric assist, no motors, no nothing. Oh, here I go, set out to get breakfast. Just doing my first stop here at Sheetz. Having a bacon, egg, and cheese on a bagel. Just have it parked there. Oh, hopefully I don't die going up the next mountain. So this is the climb that I'm afraid of. This road goes all the way up around there. You can see there's like no shoulder and it's very busy. Hopefully I don't get hit. So you guys can kind of see what I'm dealing with here. I'm supposed to be on this road. Lately, school buses have been the worst at giving me safe passing distance. There's one behind me right now. Let's see if he gives the proper passing distance. Nope. One of the nice things about having a Quest velomobile with a racing hood is that you can take the racing hood off and just clip it to the side when you're doing steep climbs like this, so you don't get too hot. I gotta say, PA 501 isn't as busy as I remember it being, and not as steep as I remember it being. It actually seems to be turning out to be a pretty good route over the mountain. It's not too steep. I'm in Power Zone 2 doing this climb. It's just gonna take me a long time to get up there, but I think I'll get there eventually. Well, I survived the climb over PA 501. Someone passed me too closely. An officer saw it happen. They both stopped at the top of the hill and the officer did nothing. So this is the second climb. This is a very rural road. Not many vehicles on this road. I'm glad I took this way. It's not busy at all like I thought it was. Just a long climb. So I misspoke on the second climb. This is the second climb here. It's really steep. Really, you can't really see that on camera, but it's definitely not. I want to say it's probably 5, maybe 7% gradient. But this is probably about another 1,000 feet of climbing here. Well, I made it to Sacramento, Pennsylvania. Stopping at Tracy's place for lunch. Probably the only food place along the route. So these are the roads after Sacramento, Pennsylvania. Absolutely no shoulders, but these roads are very rarely traveled on. I think I maybe passed 1 or 2 cars so far. Approaching a historic bridge up ahead. Really nice route. So the locals kind of agreed that this was the route to go. Pretty much I've had the road all to myself. These are the first 2 vehicles I've seen in a long time. Probably the past half an hour. Very remote area. Well, here's my campsite for the first night. See, I even have a Sea to Summit clothesline to hang up my clothes, and my vent to sit seat pad up here. Got a Sea to Summit microfiber towel. So this will be quick drying. It's almost dry. I took a shower probably 45 minutes ago. The rest of the clothing seems to be dry. Got plenty of stuff inside the velomobile. Letting the seat dry out a little bit. Looks like it's dry. It's probably about 75 degrees out here right now. I wasn't supposed to get this warm. It's supposed to only be like 65 degrees, but you can look inside there. You can see it has plenty of ventilation in there. I got Sea Summit Ember EB3 sleeping quilt. Got a Sea to Summit ultralight insulated pad, and a Sea to Summit Deluxe Arrows pillow that has down inside of it. I noticed that the down stuffed one is a lot more comfortable than the regular ones. I'm not a fan of this campsite, though it does have power hookups. I'm using it to charge my Bluetooth speaker, which is also charging my GPS right now. My Waterville battery was only used up 0.1 volts today for the whole 5-hour trip it took me to get here. So yeah, I'm not a fan of the campsite. It's really rocky, and these are supposed to be tent sites, and you can look down and it's just cluttered with stuff. I noticed that there's still trash here from whoever was camping here before. Well, I had to come cool off after my shower earlier. It was getting a little bit hot out here. It's only supposed to be 65 today with 5 to 10 mile an hour winds. Instead, it's like 3 mile an hour winds and 75. I'm pretty sure it's like 80 degrees out in the sun right now. GPS says it's 103 in the sun, but I don't believe that. This is kind of where I decided to cool off at. Campground is right there. There's this creek that runs along the campground, and then I'm under this bridge to a highway. Yeah, first day, first night at the campground over here, and hoping everything goes good. It's really a trashy campground, really. Doesn't seem to be much to do. There's nothing to do around here, and the only place that serves food is a hotel nearby, but they close at 2 p.m. on a Thursday. They're only open till 8 p.m. on a Friday, and they're closed the rest of the week, pretty much Sunday through Wednesday. So it's day 2 of my bikepacking trip, and it's just supposed to be raining all day. Probably gonna tear down the tent here in a little bit and start heading out. But for right now, I'm just gonna sit here because it's raining and it's cold, about 40s outside. So this has been kind of what the whole day's been like on the second day. Just raining and cold. Just to give you guys a kind of idea of what our bicycle routes look like. This is a bicycle route. 55 mile an hour speed limit, no bike lanes, small shoulder. Well, I arrived at camp, day 2, it's raining. Luckily the owner let me set up under a pavilion. Got my own lights and everything here. I guess she had just sold this campground a couple days ago, and the new owners haven't really shown up yet, so she kind of just took care of me. I really appreciate what she did, because it lets me dry out my tent and hang out my clothes and whatnot. She pretty much said, use whatever you want under here. Well, I mean, the power anyway, not the equipment, obviously. But yeah, it was pretty freezing all day, riding in this crap over here. So finally got dry and got a hot shower, and now I'm gonna go sit in my tent and then I'm gonna order pizza tonight. So last night got too cold and damp. The air itself was too damp to even let me charge my phone at my campsite. My Android literally did that thing where it says it detects moisture in the phone, and it literally wouldn't let me charge my phone. So I had to get a room at a hotel. It's probably 6 miles from the campsite. I just let them have my money. They were really nice to me there, and the ladies literally signed over the place as I was there to the new owners. So kind of just had to, it's a cash only place, I'm not going to expect a refund. So this is a bicycle path going over a river. Barely wide enough for me. I don't know if you can see that mountain over there. Car going by. But that's my climb next. The biggest climb of the day. Climbing straight up the side of that mountain up ahead. Probably in the next 7 to 10 miles. Okay, this is where I start my journey up the side of this mountain here for the next 5 miles, 4 or 5 miles. It's gonna be nothing but steep gradient. Well guys, I made the Jersey Shore. right before the trailhead, I stopped here at this pizza place over here. But on the last climb, someone gave me a ride to the top from the archery shop. I stopped in to use the bathroom, got to talking to them about what the Velomobile is and everything, and they just offered to give me a ride to the top. I offered to pay them some money, and they just did it for free. I offered to give them cash after they got me to the top, but saved me a couple hours, so a couple hours I had scheduled today. It's really nice of them. I'll get the name in the video later. I'll have to look it up. Well, this is the trailhead in Jersey Shore for Pine Creek Rail Trail. Just walking around this side turn, right up there, and it goes up along there. Next stop is going to be the hotel for tonight. So this is the Pine Creek Rail Trail, which is 62 miles each way of just this kind of gravel trail. And this is what I did this tour for, to ride this trail. The views here are amazing. Well, I seem to be the only one on the rail trail today. It's just been raining constantly for the past 2 days. Just some of the beautiful sights to take in here at Pine Creek. There's Pine Creek. It's really good for trout fishing here. Alright, so this is going to be my first time leaving this thing outside for the night. I kind of tried to hide it away from things so no one can see it from the plain road. It's locked up back here with this lock. It's a very secure lock. You need very special tools to be able to pick it. It's locked through the D-bar, which is not removable, mounted into the frame. They'd have to break the carbon to get it out. It's also locked through the rear wheel, which you cannot remove the rear wheel without special tools on this. And then they're locked to this railing over here for a bar, securely mounted. There. Just to kind of give you guys a video of where I'm staying. This is the Waterville Tavern Inn. My room's upstairs, so I couldn't bring my Velomobile in the room with me. I think they said there's only one other person staying here other than me tonight. Got a nice patio to sit out on, look out over the road. Nice door. See, it's kind of done up like a log cabin. And these are self-locking doors, but I left my door propped open. Thought I did. The key here is very awkward. See, everything kind of has that log cabin look. Separate room for the bathroom. It's like a regular hotel room. Got your own temperature controls over there. Nice bed. Wooden frame. A view out the window. I could almost look down and see my Velomobile from here. Might back it up a little bit so I can see it from here. I didn't realize this window was here. I kind of give a view of the room. Nice wooden floors. See it from the bathroom. Okay, so I repositioned it. Still locked up to the same pole. Locked through the D-ring. U-locks through the rear wheel. The D-ring cannot be removed without breaking the carbon fiber frame. The rear wheel cannot be removed without special tools and without getting inside. I closed the hood. Most people don't know how to open it. So this is start of day 4. Stayed the night at the Waterville Tavern. These people are really nice people. They comped my room because I'm a veteran. Woke up this morning, it was probably like 33 degrees outside, so it got colder than what it was supposed to get. Really glad I stayed the night here last night. Scenery is the reason why I like riding on Pine Creek. It's beautiful. So I found this little guy. Turtle with orange legs. I think it's a box turtle. Doesn't look like an eastern box turtle though. There's more video of the rail trail. Just a nice view. So everything's on schedule. I'm at the Hoffman campground. It's day 4. Really nice place. Water access. So if you're kayaking or canoeing along Pine Creek, you can get off here and walk up to the campsites, which are up and over here. You can see they have a pavilion there that pretty much anyone could use. We got restrooms in the middle. No running water though. No potable water. You have to bring a water filter. Pretty much anywhere there's a fire ring, that's a campsite. I'm pretty much the only one here. I'm set up over here under these pine trees. It's supposed to be windy and 39 tonight. Got my Nemo Dagger 2 tent set up. I brought the Nemo Dagger 2 with me because the MSR Solo that I have, NX Solo, it's a little bit cramped. You can't really spread your arms out in there. You can't bring your gear inside, so that's why I brought the Nemo Dagger 2. I'm not really sure if you say Nemo or Nemo, but this one has 2 vestibules, so I brought this so in case it gets too high I can open up one side or both sides to get optimal ventilation. Also has a lot more breathing room inside, so you feel more comfortable inside. It's all staked out. It's supposed to be 15-20 mile-an-hour winds tonight. I'm probably gonna move my Velomobile from here out there, so I don't have to worry about any pine branches falling on it. Just little branches. There's nothing really big around here. It's gonna like break it, but probably scratch it if anything. So yeah, that's the this is the Hoffman campground at Pine Creek. Just really nice. So right here, I feel like it's the best place to lock up my Velomobile to. It's locked to an immovable object. Got the hood latched on. It's under a pavilion. Even though my camp's over there, this is the best location for how windy it's going to be tonight. Oh yeah, I don't think I mentioned this, but this is a free campground on the Pennsylvania Grand Canyon. You're in the middle of nowhere and there's no cell service or anything to do other than camp and filter water and enjoy nature. It's more fun when you have people to do it with. Unfortunately, I don't have anyone to do this with. Everyone thinks I'm crazy for doing bikepacking trips and riding the distances as I do. They hear anything more than like 20 miles and they think I'm crazy. Currently, it's about 9:30 at night on day 4, and I just can't sleep. So, my mind had this bright idea to tell my body, you can ride further. Day 4 kind of turned into day 5, and I was able to finish the trail. Ended up doing about 60 miles total, and now I'm en route to a hotel in a nearby city, and now I'm gonna go and redo the trail all the way back through. Alright, so kind of just to recap on what happened on this tour. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to bail on this tour. I wanted to ride all the way back home too, but I think I accomplished what I set out to do, which was ride from my house, ride the entire Pine Creek Rail Trail to Wellsboro. And I'm currently in Wellsboro. It's day 5. Kind of rode day 4 and day 5, but I'll get to that in a little bit. So to kind of tell you guys what happened. So day 1 started out the way it was supposed to. Warm, sunny, great. I rode from Bethel to Sacramento, Pennsylvania. I think the only issues I had was a couple drivers on PA 501. One of them was a school bus, passed me too closely. The other driver actually called the cops on me, trying to see if it was legal for me to ride on PA 501. It's a state route. I can ride a bicycle on PA 501. So the cop gets up there, and by the time the cop gets there, I'm at the top. I'm nearing the top, so I pulled over, and I told the guy he passed me a little too closely, and he said, "I can barely see you." And the cop's like, "Yeah, it's hard to see you." I'm like, "How?" I'm just like thinking, "How?" I got fluorescent orange reflective decals on the back. I got a 9-watt strobe, brake lights, and everything on there. There's no way you guys didn't see me. It's a giant blue missile on the road. But after that, it was pretty uneventful. Did some really steep climb. The 501 was a steep climb, and then there was a steep climb after that. Well, there was two. Yeah, there was another steep climb after that, and then I went down the hill. Going downhill is really fun. Going uphill is like 1 mile an hour, 1 to 2 miles an hour, but then going downhill is like 50, 60 miles an hour. It's a lot of fun in a velomobile. Until I got to Sacramento, and stopped in Sacramento at Tracy's place. Really good place to eat. Portions are very generous. I think I paid $10 for a double burger, because I was thinking I was getting like something the size of my hand. Like the patties were going to be like the size of my hand or something, but they were big patties, like you barely put it in your mouth type burger. I had to actually take the one patty off to be able to fit it into my mouth. It was crazy. I actually couldn't even eat the second patty. I was full. I couldn't even eat the fries that came with it, that I ordered with it, because I was just full. It was crazy. And then from Sacramento, Pennsylvania, I rode to Pillow. And the course I had actually manually chosen myself was actually really good. I showed some of the locals my course that I plotted out, and they said, yeah, that's definitely the better route to take than the other route that the Garmin would have taken you. So that route, I got past maybe by 3 cars in like 20 some miles or something like that. Very uneventful. And I took some videos through there. I'll make a YouTube video about it, and put them in the video. And then I got to the campground in Pillow. I was kind of hoping the Pillow Hotel was going to be open for food, but they weren't. So I kind of just ate peanut butter and jelly for the night, and it was a good night until the rain started. I knew it was going to rain the next day. Like the next 2 days were supposed to be rain, but they were supposed to be in the 60s with lows of 50s at night, which was fine as long as it's above 50. If it's above 50, you're not running the risk of hypothermia. Well, what ended up happening was well, let's talk about the campground pillow. The campground pillow isn't actually meant for tents. It's meant for RVs. However, you gave me a tent site for, I think, $32 in some cents. It was something like that. It was some weird amount. But all the tent sites that he said were tent sites were basically trailer sites. So they had big chunks of gravel. There was weeds and everything there. It just wasn't a good place to set up. There was nothing. I mean, they had bathrooms there, but the water wasn't drinkable. You had to filter out water. It was kind of ridiculous. He's like, oh, I treat the water myself, but, I just didn't get it tested, so I had to put non-potable on there. I'm just like, I can't take the risk. I can't take the risk of it being non-potable if it's going to make me sick. Last thing I want to do is be crapping my guts out on my bicycle. Because that's just a whole other mess. So after the stop and pillow, throughout the night, it got colder, down to the 50s. It's nice. And it started raining around 4 o'clock in the morning. And it just started getting colder and colder and colder. And the next day, I think it was high of 50. So I was kind of cold all day, riding in the rain all day. Luckily, I was in a Velomobil, and it's not. You get wet in there, but it's not from the rain. It's from condensation and your sweat. So pretty much your body naturally gives off moisture, and that's how you lose your moisture. Not even just through sweat, but like even if you're just laying in bed, your body gives off moisture. So inside the Velomobil gets kind of humid in there. So I was kind of wet from that. So that day that it was raining, I got up kind of early, like, I don't know, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. I didn't want to leave too early because I'd be way ahead of schedule. And I rode to, where did I go to? A campground in Milton. On my way there, I actually had a couple cars try to kill me. So that was kind of interesting. So I'm riding I took the full right lane on a 2-lane road. There's 2 lanes going the same way. So they had the whole left lane to use to go around me. These 2 vehicles decided to just take the right lane where I was, like literally trying to hit me. And they passed. I was hugging the white line when I saw them come up, and they were maybe a foot from taking me out. And they were 2 back to back. Really aimed to hit me. I was really upset about that, and that'll stick with me. Wish I would have had a GoPro or something to get their plate numbers. Because that was... I literally wasn't expecting it either. I literally just kind of glanced over at my mirror, and all I see is a car headlight coming at my mirror. Like, I thought he was going to sincerely hit my mirror on my bicycle. But he barely passed me with any passing distance. Like, there was no distance there. I was pissed. Then I rode to that campground. Well, I rode to Sunbury first. I used to live in Sunbury, Pennsylvania, so I decided to do a little lap around Sunbury there. But it was just raining and cold and windy. It was just overall miserable weather. And I got some food at Burger King in Sunbury. And everyone there at Burger King wanted to know what it was. And, everyone thinks it's electric powered or motorized. Anyway, I continued on from Burger King there and to the campground in Milton. I got to the campground, I'm freezing cold. And I roll in there, and I run into a maintenance lady, and she said, oh, you have to go over to that trailer over there, because no one, I guess she was the previous owner, and she had sold the place 2 days ago before I came, and the new owners haven't shown up yet. So she took my money for $30. I call it. She knew I was coming, but it was $30 for the night. She was super nice, super hospitable. She even put me up under a pavilion to try to let my tent dry out. And she had her maintenance lady clean the bathrooms, turn on the hot water and everything there, because I was the only tent camper, so they were really doing it for me. So I took a hot shower and everything after I set up my tent underneath the pavilion, and I sat there for a few hours at my tent site, and what happened was the air actually got too damp and my phone wouldn't charge. It was doing that stupid thing that Androids do that say moisture detected and charging port, and it wouldn't charge the phone. And my phone started out at like 30%, and every time I tried to charge it, it kept killing it by like 5%. I'm like, this is bullcrap. And by the time I got to the end, it was like got 17%, and the weather was getting colder and colder and colder. So, needless to say, I called a nearby hotel, the Quality Inn, Milton. They were super nice over there. So, and I just packed up my stuff and left at campground to go to the hotel over there in Milton. I forget. I don't think it was Milton. I'd have to probably look it up what exactly it was. It was past the Milton State Park after you go over the bridges, and it was probably like 5 miles away. But either way, I packed up my tent and everything, and I didn't ask for a refund at all because the lady was super nice. They did all that work to get the bathroom cleaned up just for me, and she was nice enough to accommodate me. And I actually walked in on them signing over the campground to the new owners, because I guess she made a big fuss to the new owner saying no one's here and that the place is going to go out of business if they don't show up. So I went to the Quality Inn. They stored my automobile inside a pool equipment storage room where no one really goes because there's they don't use their pool because it's an outside pool and it was too cold out yet. I stayed the night there at the Quality Inn. It was really nice. And then the next day I got up and ate breakfast there and packed my gear up, talked to them about what it was and everything. And everyone always wants to know what it is, the automobile is, and wants to talk about it, take pictures, videos, and whatnot of it, and show their kids. And so I headed out from there, and from there I headed out to the Pine Creek Trail, which I was either going to stay at Bonnell Flats or the Waterville Inn, which is a hotel along the trail. On my way there, right before I got there, there's like this 2,000-foot climb that I have to do up like a 15% gradient. And I stopped at an archery shop at the bottom of the mountain to use the bathroom before I did that. And it was National Archery there, right outside Jersey Shore, Pennsylvania. And they were super nice. They wanted to know what it was and everything. And then they offered to give me a ride in their Sprinter van to the top of the mountain. I'm like, you know what? It's been such a crappy day because it was still raining, high of 50, like cold. So I'm just like, you know what? I'll take that ride. When we got to the top, I offered to give them money and stuff because they helped me load it up and everything. And he's just like, no, just keep your money, man. We're good. So truly good people over there. They did something nice, not expecting anything in return, which it's hard to find people like that. And I kind of found that hospitality the further north I went in Pennsylvania. Not so much down south. Like when I started out in my area, no one everyone was ignorant and rude and just not nice people. So at the top of the mountain, I went down the mountain. I don't even know how fast I went. My speedometer, my Venomobile told me 83 miles an hour, and that's crazy fast on a bicycle. But because there's like a couple of sharp turns, it went like S turns, and then it went flat, like straight. So I could just speed off. I just let go of the brakes and just held on for dear life to the tiller and just shaking the whole time, freezing on the way down to all the airflow coming in, and rolling the Jersey Shore to a pizza place there. Stopped to have pizza there, right at the trailhead in Jersey Shore. And actually, the previous night, I had called the Cedar or the Waterville Tavern Inn and told them, "Hey, I'm coming in that night." So, and they knew I'm a veteran and everything. They were just gonna give me a discounted rate for $106 a night instead of like the 120 they were gonna charge for normal people. So yeah, from there, I called the Waterville Tavern Inn and let them know, hey, I'm about an hour or two out. I'll be there in a little bit. What time can I check in? They're like, oh, well, you can just check in whenever you want. So I decided to leave there, and I rode to the Waterville Tavern. And once I got there, I parked the Venomobile outside there. Like, they had like a patio area there where they had like outdoor, where they used to have outdoor dining, probably before COVID, but since closed that part down. The rooms were really nice. I took a video of the room and like how I got to my room from my Venomobile, and I could see my Venomobile from my room where I positioned it. So I'll be sure to include the video of the room in the YouTube video. And then I went downstairs, ate dinner. It's like $25 or $20. I got a burger and a beer. Burger, fries with gravy, and a beer. It was like $20 or $25 because I got fries with it. Fries were extra. So, well, fries with gravy were extra. They were good. And honestly, the beer was just kind of like my reward for making it to the trailhead and embracing the suck for the past couple of days for all the rain. Yeah, it was really crappy. It didn't stop raining till that night. And it was only supposed to get down to 39 that night. I woke up in the morning because I had a feeling it wasn't really going to be 39 that night. I woke up the next morning. It was 33 degrees outside, Fahrenheit. 1 degree above freezing. Had I stayed out in a tent that night, I probably would have fucking died. I'm not gonna lie. Probably would have had severe hypothermia and ended up in a hospital or something. It was just a really bad time. And after I ate dinner that night, they told me that they were just going to comp my room for being, as a thank you for my service for being a veteran. And that really opened my eyes to how good people can be. Because I didn't do anything for them. I didn't, I wasn't expecting that. And it helped me out a lot because that was probably one of the bigger expenses was staying at that hotel there. That one and the night before was like $100. So it saved me that money. I really needed it because I wouldn't have been able to get this hotel room today. Well, technically last night, had it not been for their hospitality. I was gonna stop there on the way back, but I have to bail out with this trip. So I'm sorry, guys. I have to bail out on that. So from there, I rode to. Well, actually, I got breakfast at a store next door called the Country. This is called the Country Store. So I got a sausage, egg, and cheese on a bagel there and a cappuccino, a mocha cappuccino there. And then I was on my way to Hoffman campground. Beautiful day. It really was. It had finally stopped raining. It started out cold, but it got up to 60s within a few hours, probably by like noon, I want to say. It was in the 60s. Or, yeah, high 50s, low 60s. Yeah, by noon, and then I got to the Hoffman campground, set up my camp, and then there's a store nearby there about a mile away called Miller's Store. And so I rode there because I gotten stuff there before. And I got pizza. It's pretty much just a frozen pizza they put toppings on. So it's still pretty good pizza when there's nothing around. Out there, there's no cell service because of the Pennsylvania Grand Canyon. So I was there for a few hours at Hoffman Campground with all my gear set up, and I had tried to go to sleep around 7:30-ish, 8-ish. Couldn't do it. And then my mind just got to thinking, well, if you can't sleep, why don't you just make your body go until you pass out? That was the thinking. It was about 9:30 at night where I decided to pack up my camp and just ride. Next campground was Ty Dotton Campground. I rode all the way up to Ty Dotton Campground, and I'm just like thinking to myself, I'm not really tired. So I just used the restroom there, and I saw some people down there. I wanted to go down and talk to them, but I couldn't find the entrance to get down to them. I think they shined their light on the entrance. I rode down that way. They shined their light at it, and I just didn't see it. So I just turned around, just kept going. I kept going, and I just kept thinking. I was talking to myself. I was tired. Having weird conversations with myself, and honestly, myself doesn't make good company. I'm kind of like a pessimistic asshole. So it's always just like doubt and mockery, but kind of motivates me at the same time. Yeah, so I was super tired, and I rode. Day 4 turned into day 5, which is today, and I got almost to Wellsboro. I finally got cell service back after passing through the Pennsylvania Grand Canyon. On the other side is Wellsboro, and I called into the local lodge, and I asked them, well, how much is it for a night until tomorrow or till the next day? Because it was already like 2 o'clock. It was like 1 in the morning or something like that. 1 o'clock in the morning when I called. Like, how much is it till the next day? And they're like, well, it'll be like $95. So I'm like, okay, I'll be over there in like an hour, 2 hours. I roll in there. So I set my Garmin up to do the route to the hotel because I didn't know how to get there. I saw it took me down some sort of U.S. route if I would take my phone directions, and I didn't want to go down a U.S. route. So I set up my Garmin. It was set to minimize ascent, which means minimize the climbing. As soon as I turned off the trail to follow the Garmin's directions, straight uphill. Literally like 1,500. No, it was 1,500 feet of elevation gain. I was giving Garmin the middle finger last night. All to save 2 miles. I was gonna say something bad, but just to save like a couple fucking miles. And that really made my right knee start to hurt, and my right knee is actually like bulged out right now from doing that ride last night. I don't know what's wrong with it, but it hurts. The joints are just swollen. I hope I didn't do any damage to my ACL. But those climbs were no joke either. They were about 15% gradients, like actually probably more than 15%. Because at one point I almost had to get out and walk because my rear tire kept slipping. So yeah, screw you, Garmin. Screw your directions. And it was only about 4 miles, like 5 miles from where I was. So it was literally like 3 miles of torture climbing, and then I got to descend into the town and stuff. And yeah, so I got here, and the lady said I made sure that was for the following day, and she's like, "Well, I can get you a room right now because we're near where the check-in time would be. That the system would kick it over to the next day because it was like 2:30 in the morning." So I'm like, okay, I really appreciate it. So I got my Velomobile right out there so I could see it. They gave me one on the first floor. Needless to say, I'm really thankful that, you know, this hotel was here and allowed check-in 24/7. Because at first I'm like, well, what time could I check in? Because I was actually at like a trail bathroom that had a composting toilet, and I was just gonna change it to some dry clothes and huddle in there to try and stay warm. Yeah, I was desperate for warmth. I was really desperate because there's nothing around, nothing open, and for the longest time I didn't even have cell service. So had I stayed at Hoffman campground, I would have had nothing. And it's not that I couldn't have survived, it's that I would have survived, but it would have just been miserable. And had I not survived or something happened to me out there, nobody would know. Nobody comes through there this time of year, not till after Memorial Day. So, yeah, I made it to this hotel, and I get the whole day here, and I gotta check out tomorrow morning, and my wife's supposed to be here tomorrow morning with my SUV, so I can throw it in the Velomobile on top. I just have to call it quits. You gotta know when you're broke. You gotta know when you've had enough. You don't want to do long-term damage on stuff like this. Is what I've learned from the military. Is because once you do long-term damage, you can't do the things you love to do anymore. That's kind of like the summary of my experience. So I am home now, and I actually ended up getting food poisoning that day after I made the last clip of that video. And I didn't document it, but I ended up being up all night vomiting and crapping my guts out. And after my wife got there the next day, I barely had the strength to load my Velomobile up on the roof of my own SUV, and I had to have her drive all the way home. Kind of feel bad for making her drive that much in a day, but she wanted to stop places and go shopping either way, so it kind of worked out for her too. I was passing out in the car on the way home, just falling asleep in the seat, just from like, it wasn't even dehydration. I was hydrated a little bit, but water was still upsetting my stomach. I couldn't eat anything. I just didn't have the energy to do anything or say anything or talk or. Yeah, eventually I think I drank 2 things of Pedialyte to make me feel better, and I'm pretty sure I got food poisoning from the one restaurant. I think it's called Harlan's there in Wellsboro. I had a burger there. I had it cooked rare. I've had rare burgers before. I've never had a problem with it, and I guess I'm pretty sure it was the burger. I don't think it was the meat itself. I think it was the mayo, because when I was vomiting up, it tasted like sour mayo. And I saw the lettuce and stuff on there, so I know it was the burger. and I had gotten pizza, and that was really the only pizza or the only thing I'd eaten that night or that day. I had I had gotten Pizza Hut for dinner, and I was already starting to have an upset stomach before that. I just thought, oh, maybe I'm just hungry, and I couldn't eat more than a slice of that. And then maybe within like an hour, I was vomiting everything up that I had eaten. I had only eaten like a couple breadsticks and a slice of pizza from Pizza Hut, and it definitely wasn't the Pizza Hut. It was definitely the burger, because it usually takes about 6 hours for whatever food you ate to actually cause that kind of reaction. And being that I was throwing up the lettuce and stuff that I had eaten on the burger earlier that day, that tells me it was the burger. So I think in the future I'm gonna avoid that place, or at least have my burger made well done. Um, they seem short staffed, so I didn't really want to mention them in the video, but I think they should get their stuff tested just in case someone else gets sick from this. I don't want anybody else to get sick from that place. It was actually recommended to me from the locals around there, from the bike shop mechanics, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that's a really good place to eat around the corner there." And a couple other people said, "Yeah, that's a pretty good place to eat. Reviews are pretty good." So it might have just been the fact that I was out bike packing for the past few days, and it just made me sick. I don't want to blame the restaurant itself, but I I will say it's from their food. It could have been other factors as well. I mean, the only other thing I had was pizza from Miller's store the day before, but that was before I started my ride. There was really nothing else on the route that would have made me sick. But I hadn't been sick like that in a long time. But at least I got it all in the toilet, all the vomit into the toilet. Um, Luckily, I'm a veteran, so I can go to emergency rooms as long as they give me permission to go to the emergency rooms. Um, I just call a nursing line that's 24/7, and they'll just let me go. They'll give me like an authorization to go. And it's only in cases that it's needed and necessary to go outside your provider network. So, in this case, it would have been needed the following day, and my wife not showing up to pick me up. So, I'm kind of glad I made the call to end it where I did. Call it quits there, because otherwise I would have had to check out, and then I would have been passing out inside my bicycle, waiting, and I would have been stuck all day waiting for her to come get me. So luckily I knew when to call it.